been in real estate right at about 7 years now, and I've got a construction background. So in my W-2, I have a trade under my belt. And so I'm a carpenter by trade, and I've been a carpenter probably for about like 20 years now. During that period of time, I've just learned the ins and outs of construction, what goes first, what a job should look like, what quality looks like, cost, etc. And so maybe about 7 years ago, I decided that I wanted to venture outside of construction. And so that sent me down the path of just looking into different ways that I could generate income. And so we started some various businesses, and I had a little bit of success. I started a janitorial company, but it was just a little bit too time intensive, especially having W-2 income. It was a little bit too hands-on for me. And so I started looking at different opportunities and different ways that I could generate and stream income outside of that form of business. And I just continually kept landing on real estate. And so I didn't have a whole lot of cash at that point in time. And so I was just trying to figure out how I could get my foot in the door. I was educating, I was learning, I was deep diving and binging Bigger Pockets podcast. And I finally settled in on wholesaling. I took the wholesaling niche and I just took off running with it. And I started having a good amount of success. And after about maybe about 200 houses, I realized that I was going in the wrong direction. And so I wasn't creating that mailbox money that I'd been learning about and generating appreciation. I was just basically a glorified realtor that was making some decent paychecks. And so I decided I was going to turn into a buy and hold investor. And that's what sent me down the road looking into commercial real estate. And since then, I've owned or been a part of 5 different commercial real estate transactions. And as of today, we own 2 mobile home parks, bringing us to right at 146 units.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. How long did it take you to go from, kind of that aha moment where you discovered, okay, you were in real estate, you were doing deals, but you weren't getting the results you wanted, and what led you to change to commercial specifically?
Yeah, so I probably spent about 3 years in single family residential. And so I was learning the ins and outs. And really, I think it was a good training wheels. It provided me a great baseline education as to real estate 101, how to locate great opportunities, how to network, how to build a buyer's list, etc. But after about 3 years, it started to resonate that I was just creating a second job for myself. And it was just so up and down. I wanted more consistent income. I wanted some passive income, some things that I wouldn't have to just constantly be on the job or constantly reinventing the wheel, so to speak. And so after about 3 years, I started looking into commercial real estate, and I soon ran across some thought leaders. What they were saying made a lot of sense in regards to buying real estate, holding on to it, allowing it to appreciate, having multiple units under one roof. And as I listened more and more, I finally pulled the trigger and joined a mastermind. And that was the catalyst to be able to launch me into purchasing my first property, which was a 25 space mobile home park that I paid $180,000 for.
Depending on timing, I ran into capital problem. So it's like you had the capital problem worked out, but you still went back to, active, larger multifamily. What was the mindset there?
Yeah, so I never had just tons of cash. I did get into some really lucrative deals, but due to me just trying to grow way too fast, I just created some huge deficits for myself and large bills, etc. But what was attracting me towards the multifamily and the syndication arena was because you can go outside of your own bank account. And that's the draw with syndications, because you can network, you can build that buyer's list. I could put all those tools and those skills that I learned along the way within wholesaling. I could put all those similar skill sets to work within syndication, build those relationships with capital partners, whether that was going to be co-GPs, bringing in capital raising skills, or if it was going to be LPs that I met through networking that wanted to gain access to the deal flow that I was going to be bringing in. And I just knew that syndication was going to be a fit, because at the end of the day, we all have an end to our capital reserves. And so if you could get down that syndication skill of reaching out, networking with LPs and other capital raisers, then you can have an endless supply of capital. And then the only bottleneck within your business would be deal flow, finding great opportunities, and then mastering the operations side of the business.
Partnering with the right people and finding seasoned people that can help you expedite your own growth. So for somebody who's just starting out in the space, how do they find those people?
Yeah, so it's all about networking. And so you want to find credible people. Typically, credible people usually hang out with other credible people. And there's also methods in which you can do a lot of Googling. Google can be your best friend. They say you can't believe everything on the internet, and which is true. But there's a lot of just really surface level information that can be uncovered by just typing in a person's name and placing different keywords behind it: scam, bankruptcy. But on top of that, you can go to credible places. Bigger Pockets, that's an amazing site that was started quite some time ago, but that's a platform that truly needs to be leveraged. And a lot of the people that crosses the paths and that's promoting content through Bigger Pockets, they've been vetted. And so if you want a layer of protection, I would say lean towards Bigger Pockets, but still keep your guards up and do diligence on top of that.
So how do you recommend doing diligence? It's one of those things that's always easier said than done, right? You can do diligence on a deal a lot easier than you could on an operator or a sponsor or a partner. What steps do you take when you do diligence on somebody and you're considering working with them?
Yeah, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is type their name in Google. See what comes up. Is there any outstanding issues that's occurred, bankruptcies or rifts within partnerships that you can easily uncover? Because if it's on Google, that means that it came up somewhere along the way. It's public knowledge. And then you can also just follow credible leaders such as you guys and go send in emails. A lot of people will be surprised on how many times you can get responses from individuals such as yourself. I know, Charles, I learned so much from you. I'm still learning from you, even as of today. And I try my best not to wear you out too bad. But I'm still taking in old underwriting lessons and just walking through it, trying to get better with my numbers, sending you questions from time to time, sending you emails. And a lot of these individuals that you hear on these podcasts, that you see on these YouTube channels, don't be afraid to send an email to those guys. If you feel confident that these are solid thought leaders, then send them a message. Get into their review section or to the comment section and ask a question and see if you can get a response back, because you can uncover a lot of gold by reaching out to credible people.
I'm going to change the subject here. And, I'm debating whether I should ask you more about your carpenter background, because I'm really intrigued, but more interested in the mobile park thing, right? So hit me. Why mobile parks? How'd you end up over there?
Well, I'll tell you what, we mobile home parks, it somewhat fell into my lap. When I first got started in real estate, I just didn't have a ton of cash, and it was the lowest form of real estate investing that you can get into. And so I actually started with a mobile home mentor, and I was actually going after the homes individually, and I was attempting to flip the homes or rent the homes out. But over time, as I kept educating, as I kept learning more and more, I started shifting my attention to the actual entire park, because I started listening to mobile home park operators that hosted podcasts. And the more I learned, the more intrigued I became. And about 7 years ago, it was a gold mine. And there were so many mom and pop owners that you could get direct to seller on. It was an absolute gold mine reaching out to these mom and pop sellers, and they were willing to structure owner financing deals. And just like my first real estate transaction, my first property that I ever owned that was commercial, it was a 25 space mobile home park. I picked it up for $180,000. She asked me to put down $30,000 cash. I had the cash and I was able to put the down payment down. She carried the rest of the note. I held the property. I bumped the rents. And after about 12 months, I turned around and exited. And so I really kicked myself in the pants, but I made about 150 grand in right at about 12 months, just from that one transaction. And that was all profit.
Now you have some success with multifamily, you have some success with mobile home parks. Just out of curiosity, which one do you like better?
Yeah, so I'm still actually waiting on my first multifamily apartment complex. So it's around the corner. I know it's coming. I'm just kind of waiting on the pricing to get a little bit better for me. I haven't ran across a great deal on that yet, but primarily that is my focus. That's what I'm looking for, is multifamily apartment complexes. That's what I study. That's what I underwrite. But mobile home parks, they're cash flow machines, and they help out with society significantly. It's affordable housing at the lowest extent. And so there's a few other products that's coming out on the market that's attempting to help out with that issue. But mobile home parks, they're just so affordable for the average person that's making $15 to $20 an hour, or maybe $25 an hour, because the lot rent on average, the rent that we're able to collect on average with these mobile home parks, it's ranging between $500 and maybe $700. And for $500 to $700, they can have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that is 1,000 square foot, and they've got their own yard. They don't have neighbors on top of them. They don't have neighbors to the side of them. They don't have neighbors underneath them. And so it creates the pride of ownership that you get with a single family residential property. And so these assets, they're extremely valuable. And the downside is, with mobile home parks, there's just not a ton of supply. It's been said that mobile home parks within the country, there's probably somewhere around 40,000 of them. That's what sent me down the road of looking into multifamily apartments, because it's just so many more. I just don't want to be left holding a bag because all I concentrated on was mobile home parks, that I'm not prepared for multifamily apartments when there's just not a ton of deals with mobile home parks. And the mobile home park space, it's really hot. As a matter of fact, a lot of mobile home parks, they're trading at the same cap rates in a lot of places as multifamily apartments.
Eric, unfortunately, I will have to cut you off if you go too long here, but we're looking for short answers for the gram here, okay?
Sounds great.
We talked about Googling. What is one word I could put in a Google search right now that you recommend?
Okay. Let's say free or no money down apartments. I know that's way more words.
That's good. I like that. No money down apartment. All right. What is one thing as a carpenter that people obviously overlook when buying multifamily?
Yeah, so renovation budget. You definitely got to make sure that you're not going to overspend on your renovation.
What should I be learning today to start getting into passive income?
Underwriting, hands down.
What book are you reading currently, or what's a good book you recommend?
I love Joe Frelick's syndication book. I would highly recommend that for any new investor that's getting into commercial real estate, the Red Book.
What is some quick advice you can give us about wholesaling and being able to use wholesaling to help us with our multifamily journey?
Get everything under contract and build a close relationship with an attorney, because if you don't have everything under a tight contract, you could potentially lose the deal.